Hey, 4C Divers! It is Tuesday, March 9th, 2021, and we are Facebook Live. Thank you for tuning in, and we appreciate you guys supporting 4C. So go ahead and give us a hello and let us know where you're listening in from. Are you here in South Florida? Are you in Florida? Are you in the United States? Where else are you listening in from? We want to know. Go ahead and type in those comments right now. We want to say hi to you. We've got our guest presenter on the other line here. Say hi to Ben Hicks, everybody. Hi, Ben.
Hey guys. Thanks for joining.
Awesome. We're going to go ahead and let him start in just a moment. But first of all, March is the first nest of the season of our sea turtle season. So we like to make March dedicated to sea turtles at 4C. So we've got a lot of great things planned. If you go to our website, www.force-e.com, you're going to see lots of really cool things like videos about conservation on sea turtles, things about using sea turtles for like knowledge on underwater stuff. You can, get some classes on them. You can give some information to your friends and they think you're really, really smart because you took the class. We also have some other really cool sea turtle t-shirts and cups and face masks. So go and check that website out. We've got some really cool items, sea turtle themed. And also, we've got great Facebook Live events. So tonight you're going to be listening to a sea turtle topic, and we have two other ones scheduled. We have the leatherbacks coming up, and we also have the guys from Gumbo Limbo that's going to speak about sea turtle rehab. And we're really excited because tonight, our guest presenter, we've actually had him talk before, but that was before COVID. So now we're doing these virtuals, and I'm really excited because he'll be able to reach a lot bigger audience for you all. And the topic is fantastic. So before I let him start, if you did not register for tonight, you're going to want to go to our website, find the event tab, and register on our Eventbrite. You want to make sure you get the right email address because tonight I'm going to do a live drawing, and you could win a 4C t-shirt with a sea turtle on it. And it's up to you. It's your pick. So here's a couple of cute ones that we got in for Sea Turtle Month. Here's our newest one from Lisa from Stoked on Salt. That is our 4C women's tank. And we also, this is the other design we just got in for Sea Turtle Month. So again, lots of cool t-shirts. So we're going to give away a t-shirt tonight. So make sure you go to www.force-e.com and register online before 6:45 because after that it turns off, and then those are the names that I'm going to go ahead and do the random drawing. All right, guys, again, give us a thumbs up if you're listening, you're enjoying. Give us a heart, a smiley face. We're excited. Ben, we've got lots of people listening in from all over the place, just here locally and from other places. So someone from Colorado is even listening. So excited. All right, Ben, so take it away. We're going to talk about photography and sea turtles tonight.
All right. Well, thanks you guys for all joining us tonight. I'm going to kind of talk about what I do for a living and also the impact that I try to make as a person, as a photographer, and also on the environment. So I'm a photographer based in Boca Raton, Florida. I have been shooting for about 18 years now, and I've specialized or more or less been known as a sea turtle photographer for the last 12 years. And I'm tonight broadcasting from my studio in Boca Raton. This is my office behind me, where we produce all of our artwork and we ship it to fans around the world, as well as my commercial studio where I shoot commercial work. So I started as a photographer, going to school at Florida Atlantic University here in Boca Raton, graduated with a degree, and then continued to follow my passion to take images of lots of different things. I've touched base on shooting professional sports to shooting portraits. And in the past 10 to 15 years, I've been a lot more involved with water work, obviously, specifically with sea turtles and trying to give back with my images, environmental conservation work. And so I was going to talk a little bit about a couple images and show you guys a video about a typical day for me going out in the water, and then kind of go over some topics on photographing sea turtles and some techniques. And so here we go. I'm going to share an image, my screen share, and then we will go to the first image. And then this is kind of a bio about what I do.
My name is Ben Hicks, and I'm a photographer based in South Florida. Like many photographers, the camera is a tool and a pathway to get outside and explore Mother Nature. The ocean is a special place that has been a huge part of my life and career. I grew up around the water with my family letting me loose at the beach. Creating stories with a camera came naturally, as I harnessed the artistic genes inherited from many of my relatives into a career that has taken me around the globe. On a calm, clear, flat day, I hear the water lap up against my mast. As I swim out, the sun shimmers off the surface of the water, reflecting beams of light onto the seafloor below. Gliding along the surface, I wonder what I will see today. The direction and purpose of my work has gone in ways I have never imagined. Realizing the intention I had developed through my images, I quickly noticed that I could do something to protect the animals in the places they call home and I call my office. My time in the water observing and photographing sea turtles over the past 10 years has led me to partner with several environmental organizations around the globe. From tagged sea turtles in Florida to leatherbacks in Panama, my images have contributed to numerous efforts in protecting animals, which is something I am most proud of. The feedback I receive from supporters around the world pushed me to share moments with these amazing animals in unique ways most have never seen before. Preparation and a lot of experience has me ready to get the shot when the least expected moments happen right in front of my eyes. Whether I'm shooting waves or trying to avoid jellyfish, I love challenging conditions that the ocean throws at me. Our ecosystem is extremely fragile, often butting up against endless buildings, hugging the coast, and encroaching on Mother Nature. The impact of mankind has brought evolution to a halt, and so it is critical that we protect our coasts from overdevelopment. Our everyday usage of plastics and single-use items end up in the ocean, directly impacting the animals within. Capturing these moments in the water is just the beginning. The best images are edited, printed, and shipped to fans and supporters around the world. Impactful images are often contributed to environmental awareness campaigns that serve as visual reminders to reduce our footprint on Mother Nature. I encourage everyone to go outside, immerse yourself in nature, and realize how important it is to our planet's survival. The innocence of nature deserves the power of mankind.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate your attention. And so I wanted to kind of go over a little bit of my work specifically and where I got them. This first image is a loggerhead sea turtle. It's a hatchling, which is probably a few hours or even a few minutes old. This was shot in 2016, and this little guy is about the size of your hand. This was shot in Palm Beach. In the summers, I walk the beaches quite often with many of the organizations that have permits, and I kind of document the work that they do. And this is probably one of those images that we stumbled upon a late hatchling moving out into the ocean from its nest, and I carefully photographed it, making sure not to disturb them or the nest, and not to be in any intruding way. The turtle can't have its best chance of survival out to sea. These are a lot of times are stragglers that didn't make it at the top of the nest and that are late to get out. Most hatchlings make it out of the nest in the late evening or early morning hours of the night, and that's the highest chance of survival. And so I take the most precautions possible to make sure I'm not in their way, and abiding by all the rules in Florida or any place that I'm shooting, because they have a hard enough life as it is, trying to make it out to survive. This is another one. This is a hatch out, which is an emergence of a nest. I think this was in Lake Worth, Florida, and this image was one of those days you just get lucky and you see an emergence nest come out after the sun comes up. Well, just as the sun's coming up. And these guys were going at about 100 miles an hour. But this is a still, and it looks like life's just barely moving, but they're all moving quickly. And I get behind them as they go past me, so I'm not in front of them at any point. And these are, a lot of people ask me how I get these images. And to be honest, I walk the beaches in the summer many, many, many mornings. And that's something that it's dedication as being a photographer, being very patient with Mother Nature, and also respecting a lot of the animals that I shoot in the ocean, and it's so that I'm not impacting them in any way. These are a couple images of me photographing, and to get an idea, as you saw in the film, I shoot with Aquatech housings, which are considered splash housings, but I have taken them down to around 40 feet or so, scuba diving. 99.9% of my work is free diving and holding my breath, as you see in these photos, with my fins, mask, snorkel, and usually not even a dive belt. I try to keep it simple, and actually it makes it obviously difficult in the way of breathing, but when I'm near nature, it's the cleanest and simplest way to not disturb them. There's no bubbles or any noises or anything like that, and I can be in the water for long periods of time as well. The two turtle images are from South Florida in this area, and then the whale shark is from Borneo in Indonesia. And that was probably about 20 feet down, just free diving as the wild whale sharks were feeding in an area. Incredible experience. This is a good little story. This is an image that I stumbled upon after coming back one morning, shooting a few hatchlings, a leatherback, for instance, which I'd only get maybe once a year or so. And I'm so focused as a photographer on the surface and this little hatchling that I didn't realize what was below me. And this is up in Palm Beach as well. And many of the images came back with these little darker gray men's suits in the background. And this was almost before sunrise. So it was kind of humbling to see who else was out there with me. Of course, it's just probably a nurse shark, which are harmless, but it's always keeps your heart beating. I also use a lot of other tools, fly with drones sometimes. This is an image in Borneo. These are green sea turtles feeding in the water in about 4 feet of water. And these are juveniles. Once again, this is an area where I couldn't really get near them without disturbing them. And so the only way to do that was with the drone. And so I photographed them from the air. And this is a pulled back version, even higher, and you can see all the little dots are, the larger dots are all sea turtles feeding on seagrass. And seagrass is a really important part of our ecosystem that not only feed turtles, but also filter the oceans and keep them healthy. That's why we need to keep seagrass around. This is another image. This is from Boca Raton, and this image is all about respecting your surroundings out in the water, out diving or snorkeling or whatever, and you never know what might come about. I spend literally some days hours out in the ocean with turtles or fish or whatever, and just being patient. That's the key thing to success in getting photographs. To be honest, in the ocean or on land, whatever you're photographing, being patient, because the right moment, you never know, might happen right in front of you. And this is one of those moments that just happened. I was photographing this turtle, and all of a sudden a giant school of tarpon came through, of course, unplanned. And patience and a little bit of luck was on my side. This is shot with a wide angle lens. This was probably in my 11 to 24 angle lens with a large dome port on my Canon 1DX Mark II body, which I mainly shoot with a Canon 1DX Mark II and sometimes with my 5D Mark IV under the water. This is an emergence of a green sea turtle nest. Once again, a very rare time that I see maybe 1 to 3 a year, something like that during the daytime. And this nest we stumbled upon with a biologist that was right next to me, and I waited for about an hour until I saw them start to come up, and once again being patient and then letting them go off on their way. This next one is a leatherback sea turtle gliding out to sea. This is shot with a 24mm lens. That's probably my most favorite water lens, is a Canon 24mm 1.4 version 2. And just the quality behind it is really, really nice, and the depth of field and so on. Just a crisp prime lens. I mainly shoot with prime lenses. Most of my images you'll see are with prime lenses. That just you get a better quality output. This image is probably in about 10 feet of water, and the turtle is maybe 5 feet off the ground, the surface, and I'm swimming above him. This is another image that was taken in, this was in Trinidad, and this is on assignment with the Oceanic Society, photographing leatherbacks. And this beach is one of the densest in all the Atlantic region for nesting. And this female was heading back out to sea. She had just nested. And another way to not disturb was shooting high up in the air where they couldn't really even hear the drone because of the waves, and letting them go back out to sea. Of course, this is a black and white that was converted to black and white from color. This is a loggerhead, a little baby sea turtle that was photographed in 2018, it looks like. And when they rush out to sea, some of them don't time their breathing very well, and sometimes they'll let go of their air before they reach the surface, and that's how those bubbles always come about in my images, is a rookie swimmer not really knowing how to breathe that well yet. And a couple of more images I'd like to talk about is our current state of the oceans, and thinking about, how much we love the ocean, how much we love the environment and all the critters out there, and how much we love being in it. And also, when we're on land, we can be aware of how to protect it and use less plastic and so on. I think all of us that go out to the beach or go out in the ocean have realized and seen a lot more plastic these days. And this is an example of a little plastic spoon that is, disposable, one-time use. These are the kind of the worst things, is one-time use items that you could otherwise do without, or bring your own spoon somewhere. This is an important image. This is a still image from a video that we're photographing, or I was actually doing the cinematography for a new film called Plastic Apocalypse, which is a film that's going to come out potentially at the end of this year. And it actually documents around the world about how plastic has pretty much it's in everything. It's in every sea turtle found these days. And there'll be a whole piece in the film about me and my work. This is a hatchling loggerhead that was swimming by plastic out in the ocean. This is a well-known image of mine that I was out locally in Boca Raton, and this juvenile green sea turtle was attempting to eat this plastic bag. In a way, my heart was beating when I saw this, but at the same time, I knew I needed to capture it because the story it told needs to be seen by a lot of people. And that's one of the great things that I have the capability of doing is sharing my images to a lot of people and educating. And so this guy thought it was a jellyfish, which a lot of plastic bags look like jellyfish. And so that's something that I think we all need to be aware of when we're out there is there's more and more plastic. And in order to enjoy it, we also need to be aware on land. The reason this happened is because I sometimes will spend a lot of time with one turtle, and giving it space. And after a while, they become comfortable and they say, it's okay. You're there. Just photographing me. You're not a threat. And those are the turtles that I get great images of. I just be patient, sometimes up to 3 hours out in the water or more, and out there shivering to get an image. All right. That is all the images I have. Unshare my screen. Let's see. So some of you have, I'm going to go through some of the questions. Wow, all over the place. From Hawaii, Massachusetts. Anybody have any questions so far before I continue? You're on mute still, Nicole, I think.
No.
There you are.
Okay, there is some quick questions coming in. How many months out of the year do you travel? And then also I was going to ask the question, how many days out of the year are you in the water getting these beautiful images?
That's a good question. So I now have two kids, two little ones, a 5.5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. And I used to photograph a lot more, I'll be honest, and spend a lot more time out in the water. Now I have to be much more selective when I go based on conditions and so on. In the summer, I probably spend around 50 days in the mornings walking the beaches. That's kind of what it takes to be able to get the images that I can. Another question that I get a lot of times is, I get a lot of these, how do you get a hatchling all the time? Well, a lot of times my images, if I get one hatchling, I'll maybe get 50 really good images, and I'll share those images over a 2-year period. So I actually don't see a ton of hatchling sea turtles, but when I do get an opportunity, I photograph a lot of images, and I'll swim very far out to sea with that little guy. And my brain's working hard to figure out different angles at that moment based on the conditions and so on. It's challenging, but I love that challenge. What was the other question? Sorry, I forgot.
They wanted to know how many months out of the year that you travel to do photography for sea turtles.
That's a good question. That's a relative question. These days, I haven't been on a plane in a year, which is the first time in my life. And I was traveling pretty much maybe once or twice a month. And about half of that is was sea turtle related. I also do other photography work, but most of my business is related to photographing nature and selling his work or as installations or so on. So in the summertime, obviously more often. In North America, that's our hatchling, our nesting season on the Atlantic side. Pacific side, it's more or less in Central America. I visit there during the wintertime. So it kind of twitches where you are in the world. Nesting season is year round, technically, if you're somewhere in the world. Yeah.
The other question was, since we're talking about your imagery, they want to know where are you publishing your conservation photos?
Oh boy, all over the place. So I've worked with BBC Earth, Smithsonian. Last year we did a whole piece for Discovery Channel on Earth Day. And now I've also got into, as I'm now officially a cinematographer. So I shoot a lot of film stuff now. We just won our first Emmy Award 2 months ago. And so that officially puts me, I guess, in the cinematography world. So yeah, I do work for almost nearly every organization on conservation side. WWF, all the major sea turtle organizations I try to work with and help them out. You know, they need more images for people to see.
So let's go back to, you were talking about, you know, the different seasons. So we've got in South Florida here, nesting season starts March 1st, and it's usually the leatherbacks that will come up and nest first. And then after that, it's the loggerheads and greens that fill in. So we have 7 species of sea turtle in the world. 5 of them can be found here in South Florida. A few are rare, and only 3 of that 5 actually nest. So I'm just kind of letting people know that we do have 5 different species, but the 3 only nest. So if you are looking to find sea turtles during different seasons, March 1st is when it starts. But it's kind of more in the, what do you think, Ben? The April, May time period is when you're going to see the bigger sea turtles coming up to lay eggs. And then into the summer is when you're going to see the hatchlings. Once October hits, that's usually the end of season, and that's why you're not going to see a lot of sea turtles in the winter. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to see sea turtles if you're in the water, because we've got resident hawksbill turtles that live here, who are here year round. They don't nest here, but they're here as juveniles. So it's a pretty cool thing to be able to see turtles year round. But the best season time frame for you, in your opinion, is what months?
Yeah, so we kind of have the species, right? So the leatherbacks start first, and then the loggerheads, which is the majority of the population that nest in our area are loggerheads. And as you mentioned, there's other turtles out in our ocean, but those are the 3 mains that nest. We occasionally get a straggler hawksbill or something weird, but for the most part, it's leatherbacks, then loggerheads, and then the greens start. Yeah, the majority is, I would say, you know, I actually don't really start walking the beaches until June. Because you just don't see that much action going on yet. Certain beaches do, and it just depends on that season. It's different every year, really. Certain beaches will produce more one year and not the other. One species will be on one beach one year and not the other. It goes back and forth. It's an interesting pattern that a lot of biologists follow. You know, a lot of the organizations around here find something new every year with the nesting patterns and different beaches. And so, yeah, the most common thing I see is our loggerheads, and then followed by greens. But last year there were a lot of greens, so we had lots of opportunities to see nesting. And that's one thing I want to talk about a little bit is, so what happens if you see a sea turtle on the beach? And a lot of people ask me, what do you do? Is it allowed? Can you photograph them? And so the main thing, you know, you want to use common sense, right? You know, you don't want to touch, obviously, a hatchling. But if there's a hatchling in the middle of the road that might potentially get hit by a car, then you probably should pick it up. And either, if you don't think you can bring it back to safety, you can bring it to one of the centers like Gumbo Limbo or Loggerhead Marine Life Center, or you can call FWC you can Google FWC and they'll point you in the right direction. If you see a nesting female sea turtle in the evening or even the morning sometimes, and want to photograph them or anything like that, just be respectful. You really should keep quite a bit distance from a mother nesting. They are startled extremely easily. All sea turtles are startled extremely easy. And as well as in the water sometimes too. But nesting sea turtles, you can easily startle them. They will leave and not lay their eggs. And can you imagine a mother being going through labor and then saying stopping labor and going back home? Just think about how hard it is on a sea turtle. So it's kind of the same thing. They'll stop and literally go back out to sea, and we don't really know what happens. Hopefully she comes back and lays those eggs, but it could be potentially 100 hatchlings that never made it. So just be really respectful of sea turtles, and also to your peers. If they're doing it, just make sure they're keeping their distance, and not using any lights, not using any flashlights. You can walk the beaches without a light if your eyes start to get used to it very easily in our area with all the light pollution. So you don't even need a light. And if you're photographing, please don't use a light, obviously, or a flash. That will definitely startle them. Beaches, nesting, anything else, Nicole, you can think about?
Yeah, so you talked about lighting. This is kind of a different side of lighting. So you're doing a lot of ambient light photography. I've got a couple of questions here, but my question for you is, when you're trying to shoot the sea turtles using ambient light, what are your types of settings or things that you're looking for to get that color to pop for you?
So, the first thing is to plan your conditions. When I go out, when I tell people, when I'm going to go photograph something, the most important thing is, even more than my equipment, is watching the weather. So I only go out if it's going to be very, very calm. I look at the tides. A lot of times out in the ocean near inlets, you need an incoming tide going to a neutral tide almost, and you're going to have less particles moving in the water and so on. And then the next thing, picking gear. As I mentioned when I was talking about the film, the most common lens I use is a 24 millimeter lens. And I normally try to photograph things without a flash. Now, being a free diver, I'm within the 20-foot space in depth, so I don't lose a ton of sunlight. And if I do, sometimes some images need to be adjusted because you're losing the red light. And for divers, you need to then add a red filter to reintroduce that spectrum and to get a well-balanced, clear image. I do have flashes, and I do sometimes use a flash. I don't normally shoot nature with flash. I use a flash to normally shoot waves or other things. But when I'm out in the ocean, especially shooting hatchlings, I don't use a flash because there's still a little bit of uncertainty if it harms their eyes, because they're brand new hatchlings, just came out of a dark nest, and what that would impact on them. So I try not to use a flash. On juveniles, I sometimes do use a flash. And there's Nicole has a good example. And I'll show you mine too. So this is my most common housing that I use. And up here attaches a flash. It's kind of just more an on-camera flash. I have arms. I don't usually use them. But as you can see in the picture, Nicole has a dive housing with some arms. And the really most important thing is, there you go. With different lenses, you have to move your flashes around based on the width of the lens. So there she goes. So she's moving the pivot points, and lighting under the ocean is critical. So anything below almost 10 to 15 feet, you really almost need to introduce a flash unless you want to Photoshop a little bit of the light back into it, adding red. And so there's your little sea turtle. And yeah, getting the flashes out wide as possible is super important, because that'll balance your light source, and trial and error with flashes. I can tell you that right now. Don't get frustrated. It's a very fine line. As far as settings, I normally shoot aperture priority, basing my depth of field, and then So I'll shoot my aperture priority, knowing how much depth of field I want and where my subject is, and then just making sure that my shutter speed is fast enough if I'm trying to shoot something stop motion or so on. Now with a flash is a bit different because you need to time the flash with your shutter, and also considering if you want to stop motion something and have a little bit higher shutter speed or lower shutter speed, if you want to kind of blur a fish moving quickly past you, or a shark or a turtle. And there's, once again, it's trial and error. We all have film cameras, I would imagine, these days. Or we all don't have film cameras. We all have digital cameras these days. And so just try it. Failure is the only way you'll get ahead in photography. Lots of bad pictures. Everybody sees all my good pictures, but I have thousands of ones that are not in focus, that are blurred, or there's a water spot on the lens, and so on. One of the things a lot of people ask me is, how do I keep droplets off my lens? Because I'm shooting in and out of the water a lot of times when I'm shooting hatchings on the surface. And so before I go in the water, almost 10 minutes before I go in the water, I spit on my dome port without the cover on, spit on the dome port, and then I lick it, kind of like, it's not that great looking, but lick it all around you so you get saliva, a layer of saliva, and then you let that dry. And that's the key. It actually leaves a small layer of water on your port. And then to continue that, it only lasts, you dip the housing in the water and then pull it out. And you have about 10 seconds before you get a water droplet. And then take more photographs, you dip it down in, take it back out. And so that's the technique. That's how you can shoot waves, sea life, anything like that you're going in and out of the water. If you have a flat port, it's the same thing. Some people actually use squeegees. They have a little squeegee they keep in their pocket, and they squeegee the flat port. Under the water, it's not a problem, obviously, because there's not going to be any droplets coming on or off the lens. Any other questions?
Yeah, so Ben, really quick, looking at the way my camera's set up and I've got the turtle, what's kind of your favorite angles to get shots of sea turtles? Do you like to go straight on, side profiles? What's the cool way to shoot sea turtles in your opinion?
Well, a lot of times the sea turtle is dictating its position. It's not like a model where you say, hey, turn this way, turn that way. Obviously a face is great to see. A face, you get a lot of emotion when you see a sea turtle's face. And you can get emotion in other ways as well, with its landscape around it or so on. So for me, I try to get all angles. And that's the one thing that's important, is to really try to get, up underneath, from above, from down below, at the surface, and so on. And just try new angles, get out of your comfort zone. That's the main thing. Try different shutter speeds, try different lenses. That's drastically changes your images by trying different things. Obviously, I know that all those things are an investment to try, but if you truly love it like I do, it's something that's a lifelong passion. So I always encourage people to, get those failed images, because every once in a while it'll start to make you learn about a new technique or anything like that that might improve your skill.
And I had another question for you, which is somebody's asking, what species have a tendency to be a little bit more friendly and photographic versus some of the other ones? What have you noticed?
Well, that's kind of based a little bit on where species are inhabiting the waters and where I am. And so you have turtles that inhabit shallower waters, which are usually juvenile green sea turtles, eat seagrass when they're younger. And then you have green sea turtles and then loggerheads who are out deeper on reefs. And I have always found greens to be a little bit more friendly in the grand scheme of things around the world. They also don't have any tendency to bite anything. A loggerhead, if it ever decided to just kind of like try your camera or anything like that, has very, very strong jaws. And they're a little bit more feisty if it decides to be curious about you or your camera. And so I also spend a lot of time in shallow water. But, you know, you never know. There's one green one day that wants nothing to do with you, and the next day, sometimes the same turtle decides that it wants to hang out with you. And that's the mystery, and that's the problem-solving part of and the challenge of being a photographer is adapting to Mother Nature. I never know what's going to be out there. So yeah, I would say greens in general around the world. I haven't shot many leatherbacks. I have not shot a leatherback in the water, actually, just hatchlings and leatherbacks on the beaches. They're actually pretty rare to see in the water, and but there's plenty of loggerheads around the world that you'll probably most likely run into if you're a diver, and greens as well.
Definitely. Excellent. And somebody said, you know, I've still never seen a leatherback in the water. Well, guess what? You just heard. Ben's never seen one either.
Yeah. I've seen one from a boat that came up, right? Which you maybe have seen one too, like that, because Nicole, you've been in the water and in the water world for a long time on a lot of boats, but they come up and say hi and then they're gone, like a lot of turtles do. Obviously, they're coming up for a breath of air. But yeah, leatherbacks are pretty rare. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I do know that there's some people who have questions that are more specific about like cameras and drones that you're using. So I'm going to encourage them to reach out to you and get those specifics, because we want to go ahead and finish up, and we're going to do our drawing. But Ben, this was excellent. I think everyone got a really good sense of how to interact with sea turtles and photograph them and make it not only fun, but, you know, safe for both parties. So thank you so much for great information.
You're welcome.
And,
thank you everybody for joining us. I appreciate spending your time this evening. Here, let me show you. And this gets you a little bit of an idea of what I call home.
Sure.
This is our studio. So that's our kind of our gallery, where you can see there's prints back there and lots of prints on the walls. We also show some films here sometimes. This is my office. And then back here is a full photo studio where I do commercial work. And then we print and make all the prints over there. And this has been my home for about 4 years now, since we moved last location. But so, yeah, let's hear a winner.
So Ben, if there's people listening and maybe they aren't going to be photographers, but they want some photos, you definitely sell your photos. You can get them a couple of different places. Where can they find them?
Well, these days, you can obviously get on my website, and then you can just search my name on Google, find that. And then you can get them at a handful of nature centers. Unfortunately, a bunch of them are not open yet. Loggerhead Marine Life Center is open, and a couple up the East Coast. But online right now is the way to shop for the last year, 2020, right?
Yeah.
We had to avoid stores. So yeah, if you'd like to support my work or get a piece, and reach out if you ever have questions about photographing anything, about turtles, or obviously about any of my work to purchase too. Happy to answer questions.
And if any of you guys are looking for more information about sea turtles specifically, maybe not photography, we do have the Sea Turtle Ecology course. We run that anytime. It's actually a course that you can do online and then do a Zoom call with one of the instructors. Usually it's me. Or if you'd like to get a couple of dives under your belt, we can also turn it into a classroom session and a dive. So we have one scheduled March 20th with me. And we are going to be diving in Palm Beach. So we're going to do the online portion, and then we'll do the dive on the 20th. And it should be a lot of fun. So if you guys are looking for more information about sea turtles, learning about their biology, a little bit more about their behavior, their nesting, their life cycles, join us for that course, and you get a certification. So it's a win-win. All right, guys, real quick. If you went online and did our registration, you are going to be put into our live raffle for any sea turtle t-shirt that we have at 4C that says 4C on it. We are going to raffle one off right now. So Ben, I'm going to go ahead and bring this on the screen. So you might not be on the screen at the moment here. So hold on.
Oh, good.
Okay, everybody, there is the screen. All right, let's see who our big winner is. Winner of a Sea Turtle, 4C Sea Turtle t-shirt is Kathy. Kathy, you are a big winner tonight. Awesome. If you're listening in, give us thumbs up. Give us a whoop whoop. All right. What do you guys think? Should we do another one? Should we do another t-shirt? We can do 2 t-shirts. All right, let's see. Second winner is Stacy. Stacy Wax, you are our second winner, 4C t-shirt. So guys, if you are our 2 winners tonight, give us thumbs up, give us a smiley face, heart emoji. We love to see you guys get excited about winning. And basically what we'll do is we'll email you to get you more details on how to get your t-shirt from 4C. All right, let me bring Ben back in. Oh, Stacy said, yay! All right.
Awesome.
Okay, so I don't know if there's any other questions, Ben, but if you need, if you have a contact information, do you want to go ahead and type it in, let people know how to get a hold of you? Also, guys, make sure to follow Ben on Instagram and on Facebook. His images are beautiful. And if you see something there, I bet you he can do a custom print for you. So, all right.
I'm just typing in my Instagram name and then my website. You can find me on Facebook as well. And I also do private stuff too. If somebody wants a private lesson or anything like that, we do stuff. Usually we start in the studio and then we go out in the ocean.
Awesome. All righty. Well, thank you so much, Ben, for your excellent presentation. Everybody enjoyed it. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great night. See ya.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Okay, see